We opened our marriage. He found someone better. Now I regret everything. I used to think our marriage could survive anything, but I never imagined we'd lose each other in the exact way we thought would save us. My name's Danielle. I'm 34, I live in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I've been married to my husband, Evan, for almost 10 years. We met in college, moved in together after graduation, and built the kind of stable, boring, quietly happy life most people say they want. We bought a house, adopted a dog, took road trips to Asheville in the fall. From the outside looking in, we had it figured out. But inside? Things got, still, comfortable in a way that didn't feel exciting anymore. Somewhere between paying the mortgage and folding laundry, the spark just went. We still loved each other, deeply, but intimacy became a chore. Conversations were functional. We weren't fighting, but we weren't laughing like we used to either. It was like living with a really polite roommate. Around our 8th anniversary, we started talking about change. About shaking things up. At first, it was like jokes over wine about fantasies, about what we might do in another life. But slowly, it turned real. We talked about non-monogamy. About opening the door, just a crack, to see if something different could reignite what we'd lost. I wasn't jealous by nature. Evan wasn't possessive. We thought we could handle it. So we made rules. Always communicate. No secrets. Keep feelings out of it. And above all, we came first. For the first couple of months, it was fine. Fun, even. I met a guy named Josh who was sweet, a little awkward, and very into me. Evan met a woman named Erica, a barista at the cafe near his office. She had tattoos and wore Doc Martens and made sourdough from scratch. I remember the first time I saw a picture of her. I said she looked like trouble. Evan laughed. I should have trusted my gut. Things with Josh fizzled quickly. It was casual, and we stayed friendly. But Evan? He kept seeing Erica. At first, he said it was just physical. Then he started mentioning her more, her favorite movies, how funny she was, how she challenged him. I noticed the shift. I felt it like a cold draft in the room. One night, I asked him flat out, "Are you catching feelings?" He paused. Long enough for me to know the answer before he even said it. "I don't know," he said. "I'm just happy when I'm with her." That was the first time I felt the real fear. Not jealousy. Loss. Like I'd opened a door thinking I'd peek into a new room, and suddenly the wind had blown the whole damn house apart. He started staying out later. Answering texts with a guilty smile. Coming to bed smelling like a perfume I didn't wear. I reminded him of the rules. We said we come first, I told him. He looked at me with this quiet, painful honesty and said, "I don't know if that's still true." That night, I cried in the guest room. The dog curled up beside me, sensing something broken. I thought opening our marriage would be a shared adventure. But now it felt like I'd handed him a map and he'd used it to find someone better. The worst part? I couldn't even be mad. I was the one who suggested it. I started keeping track of her name. Erica. Not on purpose, at first, it just started happening. I noticed when Evan mentioned her, when he didn't. When he'd linger at the coffee shop a little longer than planned, or when he came home humming a song I knew damn well she'd introduced him to. I'd Google things she liked, scroll through her social media, yes, I found it, and compare everything. Her playlists. Her style. Her handwriting on a coffee shop chalkboard menu. She was everything I wasn't. Edgy, uninhibited, full of opinions and effortless confidence. Meanwhile, I was sitting in Target leggings, trying to remember the last time Evan looked at me the way he looked at his phone when it buzzed. It was like watching my own slow erasure. To be clear, I didn't want to trap him. I wasn't trying to force him back into something that didn't work. I just hadn't expected it to unravel like this. I thought we were exploring together. Instead, I'd opened the door and watched him walk straight through it without looking back. We tried to talk, a few times. Sat across from each other at the kitchen table like strangers doing paperwork. "I don't want to lose you," I told him. "I don't want to lose you either," he said, but it sounded more like an obligation than a promise. I asked him to take a break from Erica. Just for a little while. So we could regroup, reconnect. Maybe go to therapy. Hell, take a weekend trip and remember why we started all this in the first place. He hesitated. And then he said the one thing I wasn't prepared for. I already did that with her last weekend. We went to Asheville. Asheville. Our place. The one we drove to every fall, the place where he first told me he loved me, where we carved our initials into a tree off the Blue Ridge Parkway. He took her there. That night, I got drunk alone in the bathtub with a bottle of cheap Merlot and made the mistake of texting Josh, the guy I'd seen during the early open marriage phase. I wasn't trying to start anything. I think I just needed to feel wanted again. To be reminded I wasn't invisible. Josh replied quickly, too kindly. He said he was seeing someone now, but he was really sorry to hear what I was going through. It made me feel even more pathetic. The next morning, I told Evan we needed to put everything on pause. Not just Erica, I said. Everything. The open marriage. The experiment. I want to go back to us. Just us. He sat on the edge of the bed, silent, staring down at the hardwood floor. I don't think I can, he said. I stared at him like I didn't understand English. What do you mean you can't? He finally looked at me, and his eyes weren't cruel. They were full of something worse, honesty. I'm in love with her. There it was. Like someone dropped a cinder block on my chest. Not lust. Not infatuation. Love. He stood up and said he needed space to figure things out. I told him to go ahead and take it. He grabbed a bag, a few things, and left. No slamming doors. No drama. Just a quiet closing of the life we'd built, like packing up a tent at the end of a camping trip. The dog sat at the front door for hours after he left, waiting for him to come back. I didn't have the heart to tell her he might not. I didn't tell anyone for a while. When friends texted, I kept it light. Yeah, things are just hectic, or Evan's traveling a lot lately. I couldn't bring myself to say it out loud. Not because I was ashamed of what we did opening the marriage, but because I was ashamed of how I let it fall apart without fighting harder. 2 weeks passed. Then 3. He didn't come home. Eventually, I called his sister, Lauren. We'd always been close, and I figured if anyone could give me a clue, it'd be her. She answered on the second ring. Hey, Danny, she said, voice cautious. I was wondering when I'd hear from you. That hit like a slap. So you know. She sighed. He's staying with me. Just until he gets his own place. I felt nauseous. She continued, I didn't want to get in the middle, but he told me everything. About Erica. About how things were for you too. I don't agree with how it went down, but I also think you need to hear this. He really believes he found the person he's supposed to be with. I was quiet for a long time. Do you believe that? I finally asked. Lauren was honest, just like her brother. I don't know. I think Evan's chasing something he doesn't fully understand yet. But I also think, you guys lost each other before Erica ever showed up. She wasn't wrong. And somehow, that hurt worse. The following weekend, I did something stupid. I drove to the coffee shop where Erica worked. I don't know what I thought I'd find. Maybe I wanted to see what the hell it was about her that had been strong enough to wreck a decade of marriage. Maybe I wanted to hate her in person. She was behind the counter, talking to a customer. Laughing. She looked happy. Completely unaware that I was standing 15 feet away, studying the woman who'd pulled my husband out from under me. I left before she noticed. That night, I opened our wedding album for the first time in years. I looked at the way we smiled at each other, how tightly he held my hand, the way he lifted my veil like he couldn't wait another second to kiss me. It felt like a story I read once a long time ago. Beautiful. But distant. I finally called my mom. Told her the truth. She didn't judge. Just cried with me over the phone and said, Baby, I'm so sorry. Sometimes people grow apart and don't realize it until someone new walks into the room. After that, I started slowly piecing things back together. I went to therapy. Took long walks with the dog. Rearranged furniture just to feel like I had some control over something. Evan texted occasionally. Once to ask about a bill. Another time to check on the dog. Never anything meaningful. Then, a few days ago, he sent a message out of the blue. Can we talk? I didn't respond right away. My stomach twisted just seeing his name. But later that night, curiosity, or maybe habit, got the better of me. We met at a neutral spot, a park downtown where we used to walk on lazy Sundays. He looked different. Older. Tired. But when he saw me, something passed across his face that I couldn't quite place. Regret? Thanks for coming, he said. I didn't say anything. Just waited. I wanted to tell you that I'm sorry. For how I handled it. For everything. I nodded, but still didn't speak. I thought I knew what I wanted, he said. I thought Erica was the answer. I finally looked at him. And now? He hesitated. She moved back to Portland. Said she missed her old life. Her old friends. I didn't see it coming. I wanted to feel vindicated. I wanted to say I told you so. But all I felt was empty. So now you're alone, I said. He looked at me like he wanted to reach across the distance between us. I miss you, Danny. I miss us. I studied him for a long time. The man I had loved. The man who chose someone else. I don't think you miss me, I said softly. I think you miss what we used to be. And that version of us doesn't exist anymore. He didn't argue. We sat there for a while, listening to the wind rustling the trees. And then I stood up, brushed off my coat, and said goodbye. This time, for real. I walked away from that park with tears in my eyes, and I didn't try to stop them. Not because I still wanted him. Because I finally didn't. For weeks, I clung to this fragile idea that maybe, just maybe, Evan would wake up one day, remember what we had, and come running back. Like a romantic comedy where the ending rights all the wrongs. But standing in front of him, hearing him say he missed me only after the new thing fell apart? That wasn't love. That was convenience dressed in nostalgia. I went home, made tea, and let myself mourn for real this time. Not just the loss of a person, but the loss of a future I'd been building in my head for years. All the what-ifs. All the we'll get back on track soon. They weren't coming back. The next morning, I did something I hadn't done in years. I made a list, not for groceries, not for errands. A real list. Of things I wanted to do. For me. I wrote it on a yellow legal pad like it was an assignment. Start pottery classes. Take a solo trip, maybe Maine. Redecorate the bedroom. Change my last name back. Date again, eventually, not now. Learn to enjoy being alone. Some of it felt stupid. Some of it felt terrifying. But it was mine. A few days later, I finally filed for divorce. Not out of spite, not as some act of revenge, but because it was time. There was no going back to what we were. And honestly, there shouldn't be. Evan signed the papers without a fight. He didn't try to argue. He didn't show up at my door with flowers or apologies. I think he knew better. I think maybe he was grieving too, in his own quiet way. We met once more, at the courthouse, to finalize it. We made small talk in the hallway, like two people who once knew every inch of each other's lives and now didn't know what to say. When it was done, we hugged. It was soft, sad, final. I really did love you, he said. I know, I replied. I loved you too. Then we walked in opposite directions. That was 6 months ago. Since then, I've started checking off that list. I took the pottery class, it was a mess, and I loved every second. I went to Maine. I stayed in a little cabin near the coast, drank coffee on a porch that smelled like salt, and watched the sunrise without a single soul beside me. It was the most peaceful I've felt in years. Dating? Not yet. But I've flirted. Laughed at bars with strangers. Relearned how to enjoy my own company. Some nights still get lonely, sure. I still have moments where I roll over in bed and instinctively reach for someone who isn't there. But now, those moments pass. I don't blame Evan anymore. And I don't blame myself either. We thought we were doing something bold. Something modern. Something that would save us. And maybe, in a way, it did. Because we stopped pretending. We took off the bandages and looked at the wounds we'd been covering for years. And yeah, we made a mess of it. But sometimes, breaking is the first step toward healing. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Opening your marriage doesn't just open your relationship, it opens your heart, your fears, your illusions. And if you're not ready to see what's really underneath, it might just open the door to goodbye.